Yo, what's going on, my beautiful people out there? Welcome to Always Into Something podcast, where we bring it to you raw and slimy, but you're definitely going to love it. I am aboutThe God, hopefully inspiring the God in us all. Don't ever be good, people. Always be great. Catch us on 72 Entertainment Group YouTube page or any podcast platform across the globe for that thought-provoking dialogue, a definite eargasm.
Okay, so, hey, this is MMB, and I'm along with Mparx here. You may have heard us from the Always Into Something podcast, but we're doing something a little different here. We both have a, I will say me more so have a kind of a love-hate relationship with wrestling right now, but when I was younger, I watched it a lot. Really liked the old school stuff back in the late 80s, early 90s. That was when I really started to get into it. Parks, how about you? When did you start getting into the wrestling?
Mid 80s. Watching it Saturday mornings, Saturday nights, and Monday nights, especially as kids. My brother and I would spend the night over at my grandmother's house through the week because my parents had to go to work early, and my grandma would watch it, but she would send us to bed and it would be on, and so we would be in the living room watching between her houseplants, hoping that she wouldn't turn over her shoulder and see us peering into where she slept at, watching what was going on. And when we couldn't stand up because she was suspicious, we would just listen. And then I had glasses. I couldn't really see anything because I was afraid that she would catch me with glasses on and I get that good whooping. So we were sneaking and watching more than we were actually able to watch just because of bedtimes. But yeah, I go back. I think with us doing this, I feel like we might be challenging for some like intercontinental tag championship, not no heavyweight, but just like the little belts. And as we continue to do this show, we might start to move up in the ranks as well.
Okay, yeah, I can dig that. And now, was it primarily like NWA, the Jim Crockett stuff, or was it WWF at the time?
We were watching both of them, WWF and NWA, and then it was like a UCF or something like that. I can't remember the acronym that it stood for, but they had a lot of the NWA wrestlers in there as well, so they would kind of go back and forth.
Okay.
I think that this is back when it was real territorial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So right now, I don't even know if we're challenging for the Intercontinental Tag Team. I think we're just kind of getting our.
So we the brothers that's in the ring when the music hits for the headliners to come and whoop up on?
We already in the ring. Already in the ring, just standing there we just waiting.
You know
for
what?
People.
That might need to be the name for this entire podcast is Already in the Ring.
Already in the ring. I like it.
What are they doing there? Who are they?
And why not
hailing from parts unknown, weight unknown, MMB and Mparx. No words. And the next thing you know, you hear the Road Warriors and see them run into the ring.
That would be, just know it's going to be a 2-minute squash match. Oh, yeah. Okay. So we decided to watch, for whatever reason, I was like, let's watch the Royal Rumble. Let's start with that. Let's go with the first Royal Rumble, and then let's go to the 2020 Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
So the first Royal Rumble that they did was not a pay-per-view. It was done on USA Network, just a regular television broadcast. And
what was that? George? No, was it not Monsoon?
Gorilla Monsoon.
Gorilla Mon, yeah.
Yeah, Gorilla Monsoon and
Bobby Heenan.
was it Bobby Heenan or was it Jesse?
No, this was Bobby Heenan back in the day because Jesse was actually doing the commentary for the show. So he was there with Vince.
Okay, so yeah, it was Vince and Jesse. Okay, so it was.
Because Heenan used to be clowning mugs.
Oh yeah, Heenan was probably the best manager that you were one, and then he transitioned to commentary because he didn't want to get physical anymore, and he had some various injuries because he was a wrestler prior to being a manager, and then he transitioned to commentary, and it was seamless because he could talk, and he could sell you. He could definitely put some butts in the seats or get some butts in the seats about how he would talk, and it was really cool. But this one, you had Jesse and Vince McMahon when he first started. It wasn't the best, and to be honest, if you watch a little bit more, he didn't get much better in his commentary because he started to create these rules and wait, hold on, wait, okay. There you go. Because I keep hearing like breathing.
I breathe, but I don't know if it's
It's catching it. It's catching
not
the big
supposed to be
time.
hard.
Yeah, it's catching the big time.
And I got the microphone way back.
Okay, so it's catching some, or maybe it's just catching like a fan or something. I don't know. But anyway, Vince McMahon didn't get any better. Jesse Ventura was always on top form for the heels, and he was more of a heel commentator, and he would always side with the heels in the show. So my reasoning for going back and watching something and then watching the most recent one was because I wanted to see if you could tell the difference in the energy and the storytelling that was going on back in the day, and how it differed and from today's product. Now I know you might not know many of the personalities. To be honest with you, I do know the personalities that more in the 2020 than I did in the 88, the very first one. There were a lot of people in there. I know your boy was in there, the Killer Bees, Jumping Jim Bronzell and B. Brian Blair.
Yes, I was excited upon their arrival and disappointed at their departures.
I mean, but it was the storytelling to me in the first Royal Rumble was severely lacking. And it just shows how far they came as far as when they tell a story in this type of match, because this is the very first one. So obviously, I mean, they had battle royals before, but battle royals, you usually start off with all the competitors in the ring, and then you have a match. This one, of course, you start off with two, and then every 2 minutes, another person enters, and then we're going through 30 competitors, and it was just random after random. I think I might have had one, maybe two story beats where, okay, so this person, he comes out, and then the person that he's feuding with is out next, and he makes a beeline for him and tries to attack him. I didn't see a lot of that in the 88. I did see
it was just good guys versus bad guys.
Exactly.
I mean, that's exactly what it was. You had your people just coming in like, how can I help? Oh, you need a helping hand because you're getting pummeled over here in the corner? Let me come over here and throw some fake fists at you. And I think when they established it, I knew everyone. So I didn't need the background of who they were or what they were doing. Kind of knew what side of the fence they fell on, and it made it easier for me. Now, when you look back at it, some of those heels turned into baby faces, and so it was different because I had more respect for them when I was older and they became baby faces. So I was a little disappointed that they were heels, but then I didn't like them as a kid. So that also tells you the power of the marketing and influence that they had on particular wrestlers, because they could make the transition from being someone that was hated to, oh my gosh, Bret Hart. But I still, as I grew up, didn't have that complete love for him because, I didn't like it from the get. And all of a sudden, you are now the man in the belt holding it like Hogan. I don't know. But for me, in watching the newer version of it, everyone knew him. There was excitement. You had a backstory to tell. This is the 13th 13th match like this that they've been in. And so you could see who they thought would be a favorite. He's won it 2 or 3 times, et cetera, et cetera. For it to be the first one going in, there was no history before that. And so you almost didn't know what to expect because they didn't know what to expect.
Yeah, exactly. And you started off with you had Bret Hart, who was a heel at this time. He was still in the tag team. He was still with the Hart Foundation. I think he I don't want to say recently. I think he was there a couple years. Him and Jim the Anvil Neidhart.
Jimmy Hart outside with the megaphone.
Jimmy
for
Hart.
No reason.
Exactly. And
the mouth of the South. Oh.
You had Dino Bravo, Ron Bass. I don't even know who Ron Bass is, to be honest with you. Ultimate Warrior. Butch Reed. To see Butch Reed and Bret Hart teaming up on the babyface was like, what is going on? And it was slow. It was plotting. There was no big spots. It was a lot of big burly dudes, doing clotheslines and punching. And, it was very few drop kicks. It was very few slams. It was just like...
The athleticism was very limited. It was all energy-based and trying to hurt with kicks and punches. I think one of the things that for me was so astounding because as a kid, I really thought wrestling was real. But when I saw Harley Race get a handful of someone's hair and headbutt the back of his hand, and that man fell like he was shot with a cannon, I was like, no, you ruined it for me. It was over for me at that point. It was hard to watch because I knew there was nothing going on. This was all theatrical, and it kind of ruined a little bit of my childhood. I won't say I cried, but there may not have been someone chopping onions downstairs and I caught an eyeball full. It was like, no. Not that I had high expectations for Harley Race at all. But
oh my God,
he was not selling a move at all. The person who he was doing the damage to definitely sold it. Like I said, it looked like he got shot by a cannon. But anything other than that, I was like, come on. And you look at certain entrances my first issue, and I think this is tied into what happens with horror films, is especially in this climate, man. As much as I didn't like Butch Reed, why you gotta go out first?
I said the same thing.
The first one out was the brother's like, wait, whoa, he's not good at this. He's a brawler. I thought he would be, oh no, get out of there.
I mean, I was just like, wait a minute, Butch. I thought he had to go first. And I'm like,
it was like,
really?
Really?
It was so ridiculous. And I mean, and again, it was just like, I mean, Harley Race, at this time, he had been a multiple time NWA champion. He had, he had some really, really, really good battles with Ric Flair, but he was well past his prime. Well past his prime in the WWF. A lot of people went to the WWF because, this is when Vince was consolidating the territories. And it was making it more of a national product instead of a regional product. And he would grab all of the talent, and they want to be big stars because they were up in New York. And, you get there and you get you a big payday. You go to Madison Square Garden and you sell out the Garden because you got Andre and Hulk Hogan on the card. And you're going to get you some money. And you might, and then he had he was a marketing genius, pretty much. I mean, to what he was able to do and how it's looked at today. But, getting back to this match, you did not see any of that reflected in this match. It was just like, wow, what is
So how many guys in this first one came in like Jim Duggan versus how many guys in the last one came in like Jim Duggan? Like just about over half of the guys came running into the ring looking to spit fire at someone. Jim Duggan was the one who was like that, just because of how he was. But everybody else is just like waltzing, with the exception of, the big Russian guy.
Oh, Boris Zukov.
Yeah, but he I don't know if he couldn't tell time or didn't know his numbers, but you just walk out with the person who's in front of you and get mad.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'm watching the time things for this, and it's like 3-2. I'm like, bro, it's been 17 seconds. So that whole 2-minute thing, violation. They would just, send him. It must have been walkie-talkie or something.
It was
or post-production at its finest.
Complete work. You had a former referee in there, Danny Davis, and he comes out, and I'm like, this is garbage. Like, to see, Hillbilly Jim, I rarely saw, because I think he was either winding down when I really got into when I got into wrestling, he was winding down his career. To see him, I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. And then he gets in there, and I'm like, oh my God, what is this? Like, this is,
a grown man just wearing overalls? Like, that's it? It's a boots? There's no shirts in the back for you? But then nobody else has on a shirt. So why would you expect him?
Yeah.
But that was his Andre the Giant. It was just jeans. You got to understand, that probably cut somebody. The buckles there, that's a foreign object.
And seriously, no moves, no high impact moves. When you compare it to 2020, like, we'll just kind of just go back and forth because, the story that they were telling in 2020 was great. Okay, so the first time ever, the now WWE champion is entering the Royal Rumble at number 1. He's going to be the first entrant, and he's going to make sure nobody is going to challenge him for his title at WrestleMania, because the winner of the Royal Rumble, I think this started in...
Right.
It started at 90... I want to say 94... when the winner of the Royal Rumble got a title opportunity at the WrestleMania. But anyway, so...
And even the logic in that is ridiculous. So I'm going to fight 29 other men to avoid one guy at WrestleMania?
Exactly.
I'm like, okay. So you're just going to cancel that heavyweight match at WrestleMania because I feel like doing it here tonight.
It was so ludicrous, but it got the crowd. It got people to invest into this show, and this is right before everything happened with COVID, and unfortunately, this WrestleMania, 'cause I remember this vividly, and this was the day that the late great Kobe Bryant passed away with his daughter and 7 other people in the helicopter crash. And so for them to even they acknowledged that they put a graphic up for him in the middle of the show. So I thought that was pretty cool of WWE to show their respect. And it wasn't even in LA. It was the show was emanating from Houston. So I thought that was cool. But anyway, I'll get back to that, to the Royal Rumble itself. So Brock Lesnar is going to fight all these guys, so he doesn't have to fight at WrestleMania, to prove his dominance, that he's the beast incarnate and all this good stuff. And he goes in there and destroys 13 people in a row, including his friend and college teammate Shelton Benjamin.
You can tell he was a sucker right from the start. Let me shake your hand. Let me help you into the ring. Come on, man. Yeah, this is nostalgia. Come on, this is great. You're gonna love it here. You and I'm gonna make sure you get to WrestleMania with me. And he fell for the okie doke.
And just got suplexed and tossed out the ring. But another big difference is the entrance music playing, because with
the pyro.
With some people had pyro. Only one person had like some really good pyro, and that was Edge, who had retired 9 years prior due to injury and made his comeback for the Royal Rumble. So this was his first match back, and this was a surprise entrance, and he was, and you could see it in his face, he was extremely emotional, and he looked decent in the ring when he got in, but the energy in the arena or in the stadium was just, man, it was awesome. That, and when music hits, when they see or when they hear that music, and it's like, oh yeah, you automatically get that pop. You get that Road Warrior pop that fabled Road Warrior pop that everybody wants to get.
Even that Stone Cold hit.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's probably the biggest one of them all. Either that or the NWO.
Oh man! I mean, it was the fabled Road Warrior pop was that's where it came from. Is because anytime that music would hit, not the WWE version, because I don't know what they were using in the NWA and in the territories, but anywhere they went, they got the loudest reaction because Road Warrior, Hawk, and Animal just looked like 2 badass dudes with shoulder pads and spikes on them, face paint. They looked like straight out of a comic book. It was ridiculous.
Or Dark Alley.
Or Dark Alley in Chicago. I mean, they were jacked to the gills, and they could move. There were some big dudes that could move, and they really. They were to me is the greatest tag team. They're no doubt. I mean, I do have an affinity for the Brain Busters, but that's just because I like Arn Anderson's Spine Buster. That was the one of the greatest moves ever. But anyway,
I'd like to see another Spine Buster just off GP.
I mean, oh my god! But
hated them. But the Spine Buster.
Oh my God! It was one in a Survivor Series against Shawn Michaels. Oh, it was perfect. But we'll get to that one, in another show. But anyway, this one. So when you're watching 88 and you're seeing these guys just run out and the crowd pops, and it takes a minute for you to register who it is. The commentators tell you, and then you see the camera work. You see him coming in, and it's just like, okay, that's cool, but who are you? Who? Sam Houston? What? Who? Why do you have a handkerchief around your neck? And why do you look so weak?
He was COVID ready.
Oh.
It's COVID ready. And the whole situation reminds me of video games and how back then it was so Atari, Nintendo, and now with all the theatrics and the setting and the crowds and the larger environments, it's now the newest, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5. I think that's the biggest thing is they've figured out what the audience wants, what triggers them, and they supply it, and they get that for each person. I mean, I know the person probably has to earn it, and over time you acquire that fan base and that reaction through all that you do. But back in the day, it just seemed like you said, hey, such and such is coming out, and then they finally see them, and whoa. And I didn't even notice a Jumbotron, and I may have been missing that, but I did notice the Jumbotron for the first one that would give people an understanding of who it was from no matter where you're sitting at the venue. So if you have that, you can see it for the new one. Oh my gosh, such and such is coming in, which is great. Unless you're on video and you run to the rope, you trip, fall, and go underneath the ring. that could be a problem. Or what is that, the Shockmaster who ran through and tripped and fell?
Oh, that was the Shockmaster, the most embarrassing thing. Whoa. Okay, we have a new contender for most embarrassing debut in the promotion. So the Shockmaster, the former tugboat in WWF, he jumps to WCW. They give him this ridiculous gimmick where he has a bedazzled stormtrooper helmet and a oversized raincoat, sleeveless, because Fred Ottman has some ridiculously big arms. And I'm pretty sure you couldn't fit that jacket. So he's out there shirtless with this thing on, some jeans and cowboy boots. So they do the run through, and Sting introduces him. He busts through the wall, no problem. Well, when they redid the wall, they put a 2x4 or a piece of boarding where his legs were supposed to go. So when he goes through to do it live, the pyro goes off. He busts through the wall, trips over that 2x4, helmet falls off. Everybody's laughing. British Bulldog, he fell right on his arse. It was hilarious. And the guy that was doing the voiceover for the Shockmaster was Ole Anderson, and you can clearly hear him laughing. And you can clearly, as he's trying to say his lines. And Booker T is like, oh my God, this is horrible. That was bad. So recently, it's a new promotion out. We're going to talk all things wrestling. AEW is a new promotion, All Elite Wrestling. I'm on the fence about AEW. I'm hoping that they're able to take off and do some things and really compete with the WWF, because I think it's better to have competition, because the WWE has been resting on their laurels a little bit too much, I think, and just been kind of force-feeding you a lot of crap. And without competition, they had no motivation to really innovate and do new things. And so, but anyway, AEW has their show, and this guy comes out. He's the new guy for AEW, and he's the Joker card, and he's going to come out. And the first thing he does, he gets on the top rope, flips, slips, bap, hits the ring, just falls all over the place. And is embarrassing. So, and that's his first move he ever done for this promotion. That's terrible. That's something.
Your mom's not proud of you at that point.
You know what I mean? And that's something that your move that's your finishing maneuver, and you can't even hit it for. Oh, it was bad. But anyway, that was that. So when you have these people that come out and the energy, and you're right, there was no Titantron, there was no Jumbotron, nothing for the 88. It was just, you come out, here you go. Oh, the Warrior. Oh, here comes the Warrior. We hear it. because the commentators, if you're watching at home, the commentators can tell you who it is. But if you are in the arena, you're looking for some dude running, and you don't know who it is until he actually gets into the ring. So you're just kind of cheering for nothing. You're cheering at the bell, like, oh, who's coming out, and it's just like, yay, or and everybody just cheers. In the 2020, people can see who's coming out, and you see who they like and who they don't like, and who they just can care less. He's coming out. It was one.
Well, what's up with your man who comes to the ring serenading dude?
Oh, that's
why do you have? You are the new age honky tonk man, and the honky tonk man, for as bad as he was, fake Elvis and all that, he made Elvis look bad and good at the same time. An Elvis impersonator with a mean streak? Come on. Mean streak? Come on. This guy's waltzing. He might as well have had like a flower in his mouth. What was old boy from Don Flamingo from Mike Tyson's Punch-Out? You might as well have been him. And then with a little twist of Leaping Lanny Poffo reading the poems off of the Frisbees.
The genius. The genius of world renowned.
Let's go with the
glory renowned.
Like, come on, man. What are you doing? You're over here performing. It's a little concert because you have some talents. I'd have rather heard, what's his name? Oh, because it's been a while since I watched. But why would somebody come to the ring rapping? I mean, it's the same thing.
Okay. Yeah. So that, and you notice how long that was. That took longer than 2 minutes. That was way longer.
But it doesn't count until you get. Doesn't count until you get into the ring, or
I don't know. I thought as soon as you may be right. As soon as he got in the ring, because he didn't even get in the ring. Brock Lesnar got out and chased him, hit him with the guitar, and then threw him over the ropes. It was a true.
And they got to sit there and wait.
It was the first 13 competitors. Wait, okay. Oh, you know what? Wait a minute. Did you even notice the biggest difference from the biggest difference between 88 and 2020? So 2020, yeah, we talked about the energy, the music, and all that stuff, because that comes with the the advancements in time and all that good stuff, right? But the biggest thing was that there is a women's Royal Rumble that they have now. So they have a Royal Rumble for 30
That's
minutes.
What's up. On the Me Too movement side of the game. Go ahead, y'all.
So
next thing you know, there'll be co-ed.
Ooh. There have been 4.
Get a couple Chinas up in there, and okay, you say that.
There have been 4 women that competed in the men's Royal Rumble. China is one of them. Beth Phoenix is another one. Awesome Kong, known as Karma in the WWE, she entered, and then a newer competitor. Her name is Nia Jax, and she's related to The Rock.
You said Nia Jax?
Yeah.
She's in wrestling?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a large.
What was her previous industry of work?
I don't know.
Nia Jax?
She was.
She didn't work for Apple Jacks with Nia Jax. Okay.
She is a large Samoan woman, and she entered and got everybody. Like she entered, I think it was the 2019. She got RKO by Randy Orton. She got 619 by Rey Mysterio. It was hilarious.
Isn't that domestic? I mean, I'm sure you got to sign the waiver, but in the world I live in, men don't do that. nobody was putting their hands on Precious.
Oh yeah.
Nobody was putting their hands on Miss Elizabeth.
Oh
Or
no.
maybe Randy Savage was a little over the top of his threatening and all that because of his jealousy issues.
No, Jake the Snake slapped her, and that
one
angle.
No.
He slapped her, and it's like you should have been at home in the kitchen.
No. She had every right to be there.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I think that was right around that time where he put the snake on him and bit him on TV when they had the cobra that was devenomized, but it bit Randy Savage. It was a cool spot. It was a real cool
I always was fearful that you got that snake there and it's just going to be happy in a bag and toss it. No. Hey, I'd have been a natural Butch Reed if the snake came in the ring.
The first one
How many people, if Jake the Snake brought the snake in the ring, are staying?
Not many.
I'm not. I'm out.
Yeah.
I'll throw myself over the top rope and land awkwardly and break something before I let that big ass snake be near me.
And so, did you see in the 2020 Royal Rumble one of the best elimination? Brock Lesnar gets this guy. Well, he gets two people. He just flips John Morrison over the top rope, and John Morrison does a flip, boom, lands awkwardly, and that was a cool spot. And then there was a newer wrestler named Ricochet who does like Brock Lesnar grabs him and he does like a little twerk. Or was it Drew McIntyre? It was Drew McIntyre. So Drew McIntyre grabs him and tosses
McIntyre
him.
was my favorite. I don't know anybody, but McIntyre was putting it. I couldn't tell if he was a baby face or a heel, but he has some talent.
McIntyre, and the funny thing about McIntyre, so he came into the WWE. Vince proclaimed him the next. I forgot the verbiage he used. It wasn't the next big thing because that was Brock Lesnar. But he was and the chosen one was Jeff Jarrett. I forgot what his moniker was, but Vince McMahon proclaimed him to be the next big guy. It didn't come to fruition in his first run because I don't know what was going on in his personal life or what was going on, but he went out, he left WWE and he went on to the independent circuits and put on a great deal of muscle mass and came back looking like that and just an absolute beast. Still very agile and athletic, but we're adding that power set to his arsenal. It was ridiculous. And he is currently the WWE champion right now as we speak. So the prophecy was fulfilled after the fact. So that was kind of cool to see his maturation process because I kind of saw him from the genesis of his career and where he is now. It was pretty cool to see, and that kind of stuff gets you involved because with the IWC, what they call now the Internet Wrestling Community, there's a lot.
Am I entering the IWC?
We are now entering.
I'm walking that aisle right now.
In the ring. You're not walking the aisle. You're already in the ring.
Dang it. What did I come out of the crowd or something? You don't do that.
Yeah, no, you just up in there.
Really? What is it called? The I what?
The
IWC.
Yep, Internet Wrestling.
I'm the newest brother in the ring for the IWC.
So
okay,
you get a lot of backstory about people, and that's another topic that we could probably discuss in length in future episodes. But how you?
I just like McIntyre. I mean, it was like the kick
The Claymore
was amazing. I mean, you got the test boot, you got the sweet chin music. You can even go old school for the setup for the big leg from Hulk Hogan.
Yes.
But you and we discussed bad wrestling moves that are finishing moves that create the 1, 2, 3 count. And one of the running jokes that we have is 1/4 of a double drop kick, where only 1 foot out of 4 hits the person, and it just happens to be enough to get that 1, 2, 3. McIntyre was teeing off almost in a Happy Gilmore fashion on people's faces. Yes. And it was beautiful to see. It almost reminded me of a soccer bicycle kick, line drive gone bad. It was amazing to see him do that.
I mean, that move, it's simplistic in its execution, but the way it just looks so good, and how he performs it, like, because like you said, he was teeing off, like when he kicked Brock Lesnar over the top rope. Now, of course, we all know you got to sell, so the people have to sell for these moves, and Brock Lesnar did a great job.
You don't have to.
Well, you don't have to, but if you want to continue to work,
Nash wasn't selling nothing. But go ahead. I mean, if you say so.
Kevin Nash. Oh God, I'm not gonna say nothing about Kevin Nash.
Nash would get hit with a move, and it'd be like he's swatting a fly you can't see.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say anything about Kevin Nash because he will come to my door and try to beat me up, and I'd rather have a cigar and a glass of wine with the man because he's a cool dude. But
me too.
He is that move was it's a protected move right now. The meaning that when he goes for it and he hits it, it's usually lights out, and they come, and those kind of things they go back and forth. Like, remember back in the 80s, it was the patented crescent kick, which evolved into like the sweet chin music or the super kick as we know it today. But it was like, remember, or was it a savate kick that they used to, Haku used to always do that kick. And it was just a transition move or...
King Haku? Yes.
Yeah. Yes. But that Claymore...
With no shoes on.
No shoes, you're right.
I'm also mad at dude who came with no shoes. You don't put some shoes and boots on?
Who didn't have any shoes on?
Shoes and boots. Protect yourself, protect your toes. And the new one, I don't know who he was, one of the long brown hair and bearded guys. He's coming out there with no shoes on. This is not that. Because when you think about it, stop it. One of the things I want to point out, because I know we're moving on, but the commentary was so much more important in the previous one. When you think about how well Jesse Ventura was able to build up folks. When you start with Chico Santana, which I was one of those ones who was correcting every time. It's Tito! Chico Santana. Just those little subtle things of getting his name wrong on purpose. And I was upset at the stereotypical things that Jesse was saying throughout the show about him. Oh, he's going to be making enchiladas and all of that stuff. If you aren't politically correct, those jokes are hilarious. Now, again, in this day and age, don't do that. And that's probably why there wasn't as much commentary about it, and they're building up guys based on who they are, not their ethnicity or race or whatever. But in those times, I understood the jokes weren't right. I can see the humor in them now, but it still ain't right. But that's one of the things that they used Jesse's commentary to sell the whole thing.
Oh yeah, no, the commentary. You're absolutely correct and spot on, because there's a lot of, if you once we go a little bit further and we watch some more older WWF stuff, you'll hear a lot of Pearl Harbor from Gorilla Monsoon, meaning somebody attacked him from behind. Like,
oh, it's a Pearl Harbor. I remember that.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it was just a lot of inappropriate language and verbiage that were being used to describe some of these people and the stereotypes that they would go into. It was pretty bad. And you
to
could
be a
not get
pencil
away
neck
with it.
geek wasn't a bad thing, considering all the other things that they could have said.
I mean,
And for the record, I know we're moving on, but my favorite joke from Bobby Heenan, because we brought him up earlier,
yes,
was saying that it was somebody who was a wrestler who was also a former football player. And that man said he sat the bench so much he could tell you what type of wood it is. It's fine. It's walnut. It's oak. Come on, man. Cut it out.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby Heenan, I really would like to get to, because I was kind of watching it, and I was kind of just taking mental notes. I didn't really jot anything down, but I know you had something about the style and the look of the 2020 competitors. Like, it was, you listed off a number of bald guys with beards and then guys with long hair with beards. Do you remember that?
So in this day and age, for women who like guys with beards, there was a plethora of them there. I have a beard. I might want to, go into the wrestling scene at 42 and flabby. You could be big, you could be tall, you could be fat, you could be small. With a beard, that was your ticket through customs to get in the ring and do some damage or be hurt.
So, you're talking. So, there was a big guy that was towards the end of Brock Lesnar's run, getting back to the 2020 Royal Rumble. His name is Keith Lee. Now, Keith Lee was the large black dude who came in, and you could see Brock Lesnar visibly like, oh, big boy. When he's walking up, and he's able to knock Brock Lesnar down.
You talking about the one who was out there like a ballerina, tiptoeing and all of that stuff?
Was he tiptoeing?
He was doing little like dance moves. He was almost like a new age Coco Beware type.
Did he? The one that did like the little commando roll,
tiddlywinks and all of that stuff. And then I'm strong, but I'm delicate and sensitive. So he was like the teddy bear dude.
So I think that's the same guy. He was the big power dude that came out.
I don't need no finesse out of you.
And he did like a little. Because he's supposed to be a mixture of all things. He could do the power moves, and he can also do your agile planches over the top rope. And who's trying to catch his big ass? I'm just saying. Like, I'm not in a wrestling game, and in order to perform those moves, you need cooperation without getting hurt.
In the interest of what you said before, I'm going to be Scott Hall, and I'm going to catch him because I don't want Scott Hall showing up to my door. I think Scott Hall is the only man on earth who can sell his moves.
Scott Hall, it was a beast, and I would love to do a show about Scott Hall just in his whole career, because he was a beast. But anyway, Keith Lee comes out. He's he's an NXT guy. NXT is their development. At this time, the development brand, but now is their third brand. So they have Raw, SmackDown, and now NXT. And so people knew about his work, and and that pretty much got him, that performance and the reaction that he got from the crowd got him to the Raw brand where he's main eventing right now. So he's a main event guy now. So he's doing.
I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, nobody did. So he's doing this thing, and it's really,
is it a sign of the times? Like, is he earning it, or is this, a sign of the times?
It's
2020.
It's kind of a mix, because his promo work is good, but they're putting a rocket to him. They're putting a rocket to him, and they're gonna push him like nobody's business. It looks like now it's only for him to mess up, but I take that back, because, like I said, the product has become stale and very, how do you say, it's the PG era. We were in the PG era in '88. We're, the cartoony, you got the ice cream bars, you got, the larger than life dudes, but it was in WWF, at least, it was more of a show. When you compare that to the NWA, it was gritty, it was dirty, they were fighting, there was blood. People were getting hurt, and they had these really intense angles, where, a spike pile driver on the concrete, he's out for 6 months, and he's gonna come back, and all that kind of good stuff. We didn't have that. The biggest thing that we had was Hulk Hogan getting a table tossed on him by Andre the Giant, who was in a very large suit that was, that was a big suit. But anyway, that was the biggest thing that we had, or Hulk Hogan getting his chain ripped off of him by Andre the Giant, and that kind of drama that they were building up. But they're still larger than life competitors. So it is kind of a sign of the times, but it also, the era that we're in, you could only do so much, and the writing that the WWE does now, you can only do so much, and when you're restricted to the stories where you have to consider all audiences. These are grown men, and a lot of these men are in their 40s. And they're performing at a high level. Don't get me wrong; it's a lot to be a wrestler. I'm not taking anything away from that. And to be doing this, like, you have wrestlers like AJ Styles, Bobby Roode, even Brock Lesnar, who's a part timer, but he was still out there working. Randy Orton, he's getting up there in age, but they're performing at a high level, and really putting on some good matches. But you have these juvenile storylines. He doesn't like me because my haircut. That's an exaggeration, but it's kind of on the same line. Like, it's nothing like schoolyard stuff. You know what I mean? Back in the day, like, you slapped my wife. Oh, we got to fight. Or you did this. And, there was an angle where Brian Pillman put a gun on Stone Cold. That in Attitude Era. That was ridiculous. You can't do that now. And it is so different, but it's still the same.
That's a Gilbert Arenas. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, Gilbert Arenas. Anyway. It was so different, but it's still the same because of the story line. You could tell, like, the emotion that you felt obviously was more because of the crowd interaction now, and a lot of that is because of people are so invested beyond just what's going on the television. They're the wrestlers, they have they go out there and they talk and they do other things, like through social media and things like that, which is kind of hard because you're playing a character, so to speak, but you're in a real life arena. Hulk Hogan is that's not his real name. So Hulk Hogan on Twitter is Hulk Hogan, but all his legal documents is Terry Bollea. how
That's what he gets when he goes to the pay window, so to speak,
you know
Dusty
what I
Rhodes
mean?
style.
And and I always like to say, I mean, and I'm just gonna throw this in here just because this is the first show, kind of give a little bit of insight about me. I got into wrestling after seeing Hulk Hogan, right? And of course, we all know Hulk Hogan to me is the Babe Ruth of wrestling because of what he did and how he put it to that level. A lot of people might disagree, and it's a lot of people in especially seeing the work and stuff that in the politicking and understanding all that stuff that was going on behind the scenes. If you take that out of it, just seeing this dude, larger than life dude, come out, hit the big boot, drop the leg, do the posing at the end with the championship belt, just that the music playing, everybody, it was, as a kid, it was awesome. Now, Terry Bollea,
that was that you described the ending. I'm winning at first, yay. Then I've been losing for 20 minutes, getting the life beat out of me, and I almost lose the match, and then I almost lose it again, and the next thing you know, I get kicked in the face by a mule, and then I'm up with the Mutombo finger, which he created for Mutombo, and no, and now I get this rush of adrenaline. That made you feel like I can come back from anything.
Yeah, it's the hookup, the training, the prayers, the vitamins. I feel.
I had to work out all of that stuff. The little dumbbells, the tape, all of that, little holsters and all. I did everything except drink the egg, the raw egg.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't do that. But everything else, I thought I was that. My brother and I, we thought we were little Hulksters.
Oh yeah, I was a Hulkamaniac. Now and I always try to, Hulk Hogan is a character. We all understand that he's playing Terry Bollea. Said some unsavory things about black people, so that's that. But Hulk Hogan in the 80s, the 90s, and then when he became Hollywood, Hulk Hogan kind of had a renaissance of his career, and then he came back to the WWF and had a little brief run that was good. I was all about that. I liked that, and that's what got me into wrestling. You seeing these larger than life, guys, and the Ultimate Warriors. Even though I wasn't a huge fan, but he was as a kid, it's like, who doesn't, you're running around, you're just running around and beating on your chest and just impervious to pain, and you have shit matches, but you're just unstoppable, and the energy, and he was very charismatic, but he couldn't talk. He yelled about nonsense. But anyway, then you start looking, as I got older, you start getting an appreciation for people like Ric Flair. Ric Flair is one of the greatest in-ring performers that I have ever seen. And I don't even think I've seen his greatest matches. Because a lot of his stuff, because he came up in the 70s, a lot of his stuff was done in the late 70s, to the mid 80s. What you remember about Flair is his bravado. He comes out there with the suits.
Yes.
That they holding the big gold belt, the sunglasses on, and he's out there and he's talking.
Robes.
And then when he comes to the ring, he has the robe on, and yes, the music. It was great. You get an appreciation for that in ring stuff, and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Okay, but I also I liked Macho Man. Macho Man was really good. Macho Man kind of superseded Hulk Hogan after all that stuff kind of was said and done. Because he was right there, you know, the second biggest name. You know Hulk Hogan, you know Macho Man. You know, it's who doesn't know Macho Man? Except, you know, the people in the rap game, because he did have a rap CD and it was awful.
Well, not everybody can get with Reverend Slick and Drive So Bro, so.
Oh my God!
Or any wrestling boot bands for that matter.
And I mean, and this is the thing. So, you know, Macho Man I was at because I live out here in Nevada, and I was at Caesars, and Caesars had a Virgin record store, I think, in the back at the time. So I would go there periodically to go check out some stuff, because they had the little things you can listen to the CDs before you buy them. It was pretty cool. And I just happened to be there, and I was walking, and they was like, "Oh, it's a signing." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." They had like the stanchions all set up for people to come through. And it was and I'm like, "Is that Macho Man? Like, what is this? Like, yeah, it was Macho Man promoting his rap album, Be a Man, where he has several tracks directed at Hulk Hogan and diss tracks. And it wasn't bad. I mean, the lyrical content and his
bars?
His cadence wasn't atrocious, but it was a 40-year-old man rapping about another 40-year-old man. Oh, was that Jay-Z and Nas? I don't know. Anyway,
maybe you should have went to URL and been a battle rapper out here, just all acapella, straight bars on them. And now you probably hope that he won that, considering how you might feel about the other side of Hulk Hogan. Like, maybe he was trying to put people on and folks didn't know.
Exactly. And to this day, I regret there was nobody in line. Nobody. And I felt sorry for him, and I felt embarrassed to walk up to him and get an autograph or a picture, because I was like, dude, this looks...
Did you do it?
No, I just walked off.
Man, look, I write books. To be waiting on people to come up and acknowledge you, you are so hopeful for that one person who locks eye contact with you and has bought a book or wants to ask you about it or get it signed. So I'm nowhere near who Macho Man was, but for you to know him and still be like, I'm all set, no thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, man. He died early for a reason, of a broken heart, I'm sure.
Put the hand up as I walk by, like put my face in my hand, like, yeah, I'm not looking in that direction. It was bad, and I felt, and to this day, I was like, man,
he raised you. He was like your uncle.
I was like right there next to one of the greatest wrestling, and I do have a passion for wrestling. I do enjoy, and I still, like I said, a love-hate relationship, but I am a wrestling nerd. I can talk about wrestling for hours. And to have that opportunity and to squander it is just like, man, I don't regret many things in my life. It was a reason why or whatever, but that one is tough to, when I think in hindsight, it's like, man, you should have just went over there and just got an autograph.
You had a personal stanchion set up for yourself to keep you away from him? You were practicing social distancing way back. Come on, man. That's macho, man. You have to overcome that. Even if you don't buy it because you're on a budget and all that, you got to at least say, hey, man, come on. Because to be honest with you, this has nothing to do with this podcast, but I've seen you shake hands with worse.
Oh.
We won't go into any names, but the fact that you would acknowledge other people, but you would acknowledge Macho Man? Bro, I'm low-key disappointed in you right now.
Yeah,
right?
Seems like you're
I
ready.
think Macho should have came out with a diss track for you or spit some hot bars and just put your name in it instead of Hogan's.
Oh man, yeah, I mean, look, you're not wrong. You're not wrong, and you're absolutely correct. But oh boy, so when you think about all of this, like I said, they're kind of going all over the place, but it's the emotion that wrestling created for me as a young child, and for you, you wanting to be a Hulkamaniac, you wanting to it was just that and it was, it was the marketing behind it, of course, and the personalities and the charisma that, because not many people could do that. You fast forward and you have like your Rocks and your Stone Colds. It was different. So
I found that looking like I missed the whole RKO era. And so I was accustomed to Stone Cold. And I watched some little videos or little things where anything that happened where someone tripped and fell could be an RKO opportunity where they would somehow use technology to put him into that situation. But prior to RKO, the random haha I got you was a Stone Cold Stunner. Yeah. And so I understood that even when I'm working with high school kids, we'll be walking down the hall and I'd be like, Stunner, and they'd be arcade. No, bro, no, which shows my age. And then to see the bald guy stunning folks and it doesn't have that oomph to it. Like part of Stone Cold was like the boot, the black boot hitting the stomach area and then bow. I mean, he was smooth with it.
Yeah, he put some stank
and obnoxious at the same time.
Yeah.
So for me to see Randy Orton for the first time actually RKOing Muggs, and then how he was doing that, you got the Texas rattlesnake, and then he's, what do they call him, the Predator or something like that?
The Viper.
But yeah, well, that's a rattlesnake. It's a Viper. It's same, they're cousins.
Okay.
Yeah. Neither one of them have legs or ankles. I can say that. But the point is that he was about to get at Edge, and Edge is like, nah, bruh, I don't trust you. But he was smooth with it. So in missing that, you get to see why he was so popular, especially if someone like Stone Cold isn't doing the work that he's doing before, and you got this move that comes out of nowhere that is deadly. And then you see this other guy who's using Stone Cold's move, but I don't know.
Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens he sits on the Stunner. Yeah, it's not.
Nobody's selling his move like they was selling. No. I mean, you think about The Rock selling the Stunner. My gosh, it was like he was just flipping around for no reason. You thought he was doing mat work for the gymnastics team.
Oh my god,
he was all over the place, but it worked.
Amazing.
This guy, I mean.
So that was pretty much. This is the first podcast, hopefully, of many of MMB and Mparx already in the ring podcast. And we
already in the ring, baby.
Already in the ring. We hope to join that IWC, and I'm just going to give a couple shout outs as we're wrapping this up to people that kind of inspired me, that I like to watch for my wrestling news and information today, whether it be just for funny stuff or they just informative. Jim Cornette has a podcast. Brian Zane, Wrestling with Regret. Steven Larson, Going In Raw. My absolute favorite right now. Right, absolute favorite. I mean, Jim Cornette, I listen to all the time, and because it's Jim Cornette, and he's awesome. But I love OSW Review because they just really they go through the and it's a video podcast, so you can watch the show and they talk over it, and those three just really have a good time doing it, and it's amazing. So. Wrestling bios, I watch a lot of that, and What Culture, the ups and downs with Simon Miller. Just to give a shout out to all of those, shows that I listen to, and that we will hopefully be competing against or, doing joining the ranks of them, and just really having a good time discussing some good old fashioned wrestling and just having some fun, man. That's what this is about. Just kind of reliving some childhood memories and just having a good time and going into it a little bit more in depth, and you kind of see it from when you were a child until as you're an adult. And the differences and things like that is really cool, and I really enjoy doing it. So, when I asked you to do that, I appreciate.
No problem, man. It made me feel great while you're giving shout outs. Well, I don't know any of them other than Jim Cornette. Shout out to Grandma who was watching and thinking it was real. I don't know what all she was doing in there watching them sweaty men. You should run around and do all of their things, but she was into it. My brother, we were dang near British Bulldog and, Davey Boy Smith and the Dynamite Kid because he was older and I was younger. Yeah. And then growing up and watching it, we were sneaking and watching pay-per-views, and we got to order a few until that bill came in. And then after that, we were always watching it on television where it was streaky. And, you could see a little bit of it. A hip toss might have been a power slam, but we didn't know because the graphics on the television were off.
It was scrambled.
And then going into college, man, we would have Monday night parties where we would get food from a catering service. We'd have like steak and shrimp or teriyaki chicken. And we'd have it on in two dorm rooms across the hall from each other, and you would go back and forth between watching, Monday Night Raw and then
Nitro.
Monday Night
Nitro.
The Nitro. We're going back and forth. And then when I moved out to Vegas, we would do the same thing, or just get some hot and readies. Yeah. And Monday nights, that was something that I could look forward to. It was just the fellas getting together to watch wrestling.
Yep.
So, my upbringing for wrestling was tremendous. And probably around 2002, I kind of went on a hiatus. I don't know if I'm back yet, but the nostalgia is amazing, and I appreciate this.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And my last shout out to my mom, because she did buy me many pay-per-views. And I know it wasn't easy, so last shout out for that. So yeah, we're hopefully going to be doing this on a weekly basis, whatever, however we want to do it. I finally got my studio kind of up and running. My girl came in and cleaned it all up for me, so got everything connected, got my computer good, and so we should be up and running, and hopefully we'll be contending for those titles sometime soon. But in the meantime,
you signing off?
In the meantime, I got a hard punch.
Oh, I'm going with a Russian sickle. For old time's sake. Started off with a Russian sickle. 1, 2, 3 while pulling the tights. Just in case. A little overexposure.
Yeah, the hard punch.
On the Janet Jackson side of the game.
the hard punch, it is just, they're calling off the match because you're just over there shaking because you're going in convulsions. It's over. It's over.
What? I'll sell it, but it didn't hurt.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Late.